Conflict management. Given that there's so much going on in the world and there's so much going on within our lives and so much going on within each one of us, the ground reality is that conflict is inevitable and is unavoidable in everyday life. Now, having said that, it doesn't mean that conflict cannot be managed or resolved. Indeed, conflict can be managed in our professional and personal lives. Conflict management and resolution is a great skill to cultivate in everyday life. So, what happens when you cultivate this essential skill? Number one, it builds your self awareness. As you attempt to understand what the conflict is all about, you learn to understand yourself better, you learn to understand others better, and this builds greater self awareness. To manage conflict, it's important to communicate effectively and practice active listening. Because communicating effectively helps articulate your point of view, and listening actively helps you understand what helps you understand what the actual problem is, the root cause of the problems, helps you get the big picture, helps you connect the dots faster. So thus conflict management helps you hone better communication and listening skills. So when you practice conflict management, it also helps you save time, money, mind space, and energy, because the focus is in solving and resolving issues and problems. Therefore, the focus is on more meaningful and purposeful conversations and constructive feedback rather than whining, complaining, or playing the blame game or victim role. The ability to manage conflict helps improve relationships, be they personal or professional at the workplace. It builds trust, confidence, and reliability in a relationship as people get together to discuss rather than argue or debate over a point just for the sake of it. Listen actively to one another and also focus on finding solutions and resolutions. Reduced conflict at the workplace and at home or in a personal life inspires greater productivity, performance, innovation, creativity, and therefore higher job satisfaction and reduced attrition rates. Overall, conflict resolution skills help create win-win situations for all stakeholders involved. So, what are the different types of conflict that we face in life? So, we do face conflict at the workplace, but before we go to the workplace, I would like to focus on the different types of conflict we face within ourselves in our relationships with other people at a people level. So, the conflict of voices, we all go through internal conflict when there are two different voices telling us to do two different things, and we are torn between what to follow, or which voice to listen to, or what direction we need to take in life. This is a clash between the inner chatter or noise, and the inner voice of wisdom. There have been many times I was told to follow my heart, and it was even more confusing because there was a time when I really didn't understand what was my heart saying or what was my head saying. We often hear about this head versus heart conflict. It took me a while before I realized what my heart was saying or what my head was saying and how to distinguish between the two. And this is the inner conflict that I'm talking about. So, inner chatter typically is our brain playing back the experiences from the past and the assumptions or opinions or judgments or interpretations and conclusions that we may have drawn from that experience, and any beliefs that arise from one or more experiences in our past. And these experiences are played on automatically by the brain when it gets triggered through either an image or a word or a situation or a person or a circumstance that we face in life. And this is something we also spoke in systems thinking and mental models, how they get triggered because of any of these. So if it's only a lot of opinions, judgments, assumptions, and interpretations from a past experience going on in a continuous loop, then do you really want to keep hearing that over and over? So you have the power of choice to decide whether you want to keep playing that back again, if you want to keep listening to that, or just pause it and choose not to play it again. So whenever this auto playback starts, you could probably ask yourself a few questions like, how important and relevant is it to go through all this flashback right now? What information do I need from that flashback that will help me move forward right now? And if there's nothing that I need from that flashback or the playback, then do I really need to go through that whole thing again and again and again? What are the outcomes I'm looking for, and how is it relevant for me right now? And the way of catching this is journaling what's on your mind daily as a daily practice. It's a great way to declutter your mind and get all that is in your mind on paper or digitally. This provides a safe place for you to capture all that's swimming in your head, and it also helps you unentangle your thoughts and emotions as you put them down on paper and express yourself. We also discussed about how to end the self-talk in our head in cultivating a growth mindset. So do refer to that also, on how to breathe in and breathe out and let go of words and dialogues and chatter that is not suiting us anymore, and how to choose words of power that are aligned with the future that we wish to create. So the more regularly and consciously you process your inner chatter, your inner self-talk, it helps you declutter your mind. It makes the mind more calmer and clearer, and the clarity of thought and the calmness of the mind helps you make better choices and helps you make better decisions in life. Conflict of values. In the leadership module, we speak about core values, non-negotiable values, and how they act as a inner compass in life, how they guide the choices and decisions we make. We all have a set of core values that we carry deep within us, and some of us may not realize what they are, while some of us may be very clear on our values. So, when something doesn't align with the core values, then it causes conflict within us. So, it could be a friend, or it could be a family member, a relative, or it could be a fellow team member or a colleague at the workplace. And if the and it could even be an organization that you plan to work for or working with. When your set of values differ from the set of values that the other person or an entity or a group or an organization has, then there is all probability and possibility for a conflict to arise. So it's important when you join an organization that you make sure that your values align with the values of the organization, the larger goals and vision of the organization. So number one, be clear on your values. These are the guiding compass in your life. What are your core and non-negotiable values? Number two, when your values don't align, do not compromise your values to please or impress others for short-term or long-term gains. Respect your values. Respect the values of the other person. Like we say in the leadership module, it's important to do what is right rather than do what is easy. Number three, when there's a conflict you face within yourself, then see what is causing the conflict, what values are mismatching, and what you can do about it, and so that explore the possibilities available to you so that you can find a way or a solution that works for you. And when it comes to conflict with someone else or an organization, take time to understand where the other person is coming from and where the organization stands. See if you can look for common ground, explore ways to understand the other person and where they are coming from. Look for common ground and goals. So some questions that you may ask is, what are the concerns of each stakeholder involved? What values are clashing here? What are the possibilities that will help resolve this situation without compromising the values that we hold? What do I need to know or do that will help create a win-win situation? We could also have a conflict of perspective because we could also have a conflict of perspective. We all have a lens through which we perceive the world through our senses, and we have our own interpretations of the various life experiences that we go through. So perspectives will be different, perceptions will be different. Everyone is on his or her own journey of discovery, self-awareness and self-growth. So it's important to respect yourself and respect others, asking yourself, what way is my lens different from the other person? What can be learned from this? What possibilities arise from these differences can just put things in perspective. We also spoke about spheres of responsibility in the leadership module, the sphere of control, sphere of influence, and sphere of interest. Being clear on the spheres of responsibility is a very helpful tool to resolve conflict. What is within your sphere of control? What is within your sphere of influence and your sphere of interest? So this helps you focus on what can be achieved and done rather than focusing your energy, time, and mind space on something that is beyond your control. Conflict of expectations. You may have a conflict with your own expectations of yourself, which is very common. When you don't meet the expectations you have set for yourself, you're in conflict with yourself. Or you could be in conflict because you have someone else has expectations of you, or you have expectations of someone else. Either you are trying hard to meet those expectations and resenting yourself and them in the process, or you're not aware that they have expectations out of you, or you know they have expectations from you and you do not know how to manage them. So all this lead to a conflict of expectations. And vice versa, like you have expectations from someone and they really do not know what they are, or they don't know how to manage your expectations of them. So in such cases, it really helps to write down the expectations that you have of yourself, or you have of someone else, or what you think the other person has of you. Because all these expectations again are subject to the lens of perception, and which varies from person to person. What are the expectations I have of myself? Which of these are realistic, specific, practical, and aligned with the kind of goals that I have set for myself, with the kind of person that I wish to become, with the kind of life that I wish to live? Expectations again are subject to the lens of perception that each one has. And since this lens of perception is dependent on the experiences each person has had so far in life, it is not possible and practical for anyone to meet and fulfill everyone's expectations in life. The best way is to first understand that yes, they're going to be different and probably just ignore them. But if you're very close to someone, it's a family member or a friend, someone very near and dear to you, you probably would wish to make an attempt and try to resolve the conflict that is arising. So a good tip is to have a conversation with the other person and clarify the expectations clearly. So what are your expectations from me? What's the best and worst that can happen if I don't meet your expectations? Let me share my expectations with you. What's the best and worst that can happen if you don't meet my expectations? And then explore possibilities to find a win-win way. So it's just a matter of a very productive, healthy, purposeful and meaningful conversation that can help resolve this conflict. It's pretty common between life partners, a parent and child, or this can even happen. The conflict of expectations can also happen at the workplace between two team players or between the team player and the supervisor. And in such cases, like we spoke in teamwork, it's important that you sit down and clarify these expectations from one another rather than just be something which is abstract in each mind. So, to help resolve this conflict of expectations at the workplace, it's suggested that you sit and really talk this out clearly with the other person, be it your team, a peer, or your supervisor. Try to understand what is expected out of you. Convert it into clear agreements with clearly defined coordination and collaboration points, tasks, deliverables, and deadlines. So it's important to keep these expectations very clear in terms of, are they specific, are they practical, and are they aligned with the values and goals that you have, and also with the goals and vision of the group and the organization. And if they're truly not serving either the individuals or the organization, then please do consider eliminating them.